Hey everybody! Today we're going to make a loaf of bread. We're going to use common ingredients that almost everybody has laying around the house. I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. This is going to be from scratch. So we're going to start with flour, water, yeast, salt, and oil. This is something that anybody can do, and it's good for a couple of different things. Today we're making bread. You can also make pizza crust out of this. You can also make dinner rolls out of this. I've also made hamburger buns out of this, hot dog buns out of this. It's a very versatile, simple bread recipe that anybody can do. So stick with me and I'll show you what I know. Alright, this is everything we're going to need according to traditional volumetric measuring methods. But for today's video, we're going to use measuring everything by weight because we're using flour and there's humidity in the air. First, we're going to start with your yeast. Then we're going to add warm water. Not hot water, just warm. This is going to help wake up the yeast. It's important to use the exact right amount or your dough will be too sticky. Next, we're going to add the sugar. 3/4 ounces of sugar. This is what's going to feed the yeast and get it to start coming alive and helping the dough rise. Now we add the salt. This is for a little bit of flavor. 1/4 ounce here. Now the oil, to make sure that it doesn't stick to the inside of the pan or the mixing bowl. 1/2 ounce here. Now we're going to measure out flour. I'm using all-purpose flour. Sometimes it's better to use specifically bread flour. We're going to measure out 15 ounces here. This is by weight, not by volume, because sometimes you can fit more flour in a smaller space if you pack it in. It's got to be exactly 15 ounces or your dough isn't going to be sticky enough. We're not going to add it yet. First, we're going to attach the dough hook to the mixer. If you don't have a mixer, you can do this by hand, but it will take a long time and you got to have some decent hand strength to do it. Start to mix your liquid, but remember to lock down your lid and mix on low. And while you're mixing, slowly incorporate your measured amount of flour. I've sped up the recording here, but we're going to mix this on the lowest speed until it all comes together to form a ball of dough. You just have to keep your eye on it to see when this happens. Once it's become a ball of dough, then we're going to increase the speed to medium, and we're going to let it spin on medium for 3 minutes. This is to help develop the gluten. While this is happening, bring some water to a boil. When your 3 minutes is up, go ahead and turn off your machine, and you'll know you've done it right if, when you raise the lid, all the dough stays on the hook instead of sticks to the bowl. It should stay pretty well. Go ahead and peel the dough off the hook at this point, because now we're done with the mixer. Form your dough into a ball. what we're looking to do here is scoot the edges under the ball continuously, so it's got a smooth top and it'll have a seam underneath. I'm missing a step here in filming. After it's a ball of dough, you should spray the inside of a mixing bowl with cooking spray, put your dough ball in there, spray on top of it, and cover all of that with plastic wrap, so it has a chance to rise in that semi-sealed container or airtight container without changing shape. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to measure out your smallest measuring cup full of boiling water. Mine is 1 cup. It's got to be small because we need to put it in the back of the microwave. We're going to add the bowl of dough to that, and this is going to act as a proofing chamber. It doesn't matter if you use your microwave or not, but it does need to be airtight. We're going to do this for an hour. What this does is it allows the dough to rise in a humid environment. Once it's risen for an hour, you're going to notice right away that it's just about doubled in volume. We're done with the microwave at this point. Remove the plastic and empty your dough out onto the counter. This is a good time to see the seam that we were talking about before. Now you're just going to roll it into another ball again. You're not going to try to squeeze all the air out of it, but we are going to try to shape it quite a bit. I'm making kind of a traditional loaf without a loaf pan, but if you're making it in a loaf pan, this is the time when you'd put it in the loaf pan. There's a seam underneath we're going to try to keep secret. And also, throughout the forming process here, there will also be seams in the ends. But we want to try to roll under as well. Most of the time I use my hands for this. Every once in a while, I use a tool. This is a bench scraper. Any knife with a wide blade will do. What it pretty much does is it scoots dough underneath, and then it sticks to the counter and kind of holds its shape for a minute. I like to use this because it's fast. Once you get pretty much the right shape, you're going to grease a baking pan with cooking spray, and you're going to transfer your dough onto there. This would also be where you put it into a loaf pan if that's what you're using. A couple last minute forming steps, and then cover it with plastic again, making sure to spray first. Let it rise for up to an hour. For today's episode, I just did it for 30 minutes. While it's rising, before your timer goes off, preheat your oven to 375. After 30 minutes today, we remove the plastic and you'll notice that it's doubled in volume again. We're going to do some last minute shaping, and then it's going to go into the oven. It'll go into a preheated oven at 375, and you'll set the timer for 8 minutes. Once the time is up, all we need to do is rotate the bread 180 degrees. This is just in case your oven has hot zones and less hot zones. Keeps everything even. Now set the timer for 7 minutes. At the end of 7 minutes, we're going to rotate it another 180 degrees, one last time, and set the timer for 6 minutes. At this point, the bread should be done, but your kitchen temperature is going to have a lot to do with your cooking time, so pay attention to the weather. You should be able to thump your bread. It should sound firm and hollow. That's how you'll know it's done all the way through. I like to coat mine with a little bit of butter, This keeps the crust from getting very, very crumbly. After this, let it cool overnight in the fridge before you slice into it. Okay, so that was how to make a loaf of bread. Remember, your cook times may vary depending on the weather. The hotter it is in your house, in your kitchen, the more different the time is going to be from today's times. Today it's about 80 degrees at my house, so my times were a little bit short. Experiment with what works for you. Hope you liked my video. Hope you learned something. If you did, please remember to give me a like and a share and a subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Thanks.